Okay, there we go, you got water.
Hope I didn't overstay you well.
No, we're fine.
Thank you, first of all, so much to Lisa and the Initiatives in Art and Culture for having us. My name is Lauren. This is Terry. I think I first started saying that I wanted to grow up to be you in college.
Oh, please.
So, and the first time I met her was about a year ago when your book came out. I was actually shaking. Terry built no, I really was. I was so nervous. I dressed up. Terry was she built the fashion beat at the Wall Street Journal, has broken so many big stories over the years, and has also published 2 books that are really must-reads for anyone who enters into the industry. College students always read them. Yes, the first one was The End of Fashion, How Marketing Changed the Clothing Industry Forever. That was published in 1999. Last year, she published a new book, which was Hijacking the Runway, about how celebrities have transformed the fashion industry. Which is what we're going to talk about today. But to get started, I mean, we're going to talk a little about how celebrities have become designers. But before that happened, designers became celebrities. We know Coco Chanel, we know Karl Lagerfeld, we know Diane von Furstenberg. How essential or unessential is that to a designer's success, being a sort of celebrity persona today?
Okay, well, a lot of you guys, okay, hello everybody again. Let me just say real quick, and thanks for having me back. We had a great time last year, and I was really excited when Lisa invited me back. So, and it's more and more. I mean, last year I was telling you guys about how, the whole Jessica Simpson phenomenon and, billion-dollar business. And now it is just, like I said, the tsunami continues. Because it's like there's so many celebrities now who are now just basically taking over. And I think that is now more and more, it's even more imperative than ever for a fashion brand to either have some celebrity association or for the designer to actually be the celebrity. Let me just take a second here. I was going to give you guys a list of who's new out here. Okay, Rihanna. Okay, now this is hot off the presses. Rihanna, as you all know, is creative director at Puma. And Puma just came out with their earnings. And they actually, in announcing their earnings, this was like last week, I think, said that actually attributed Rihanna to helping the brand, really their sales and net income go up. So, I mean, so this is not just an image thing. I mean, it actually is affecting the bottom line at Puma. Okay, now, of course, you all anybody who followed what was going on at H&M with Olivia Roustang. I mean, people were out for what, 2 days before the H&M Olivier Roustang, this was the Balmain collection, and Olivier Roustang is designer for Balmain, and okay, he's a lot more known in Europe than he is here, but he has 1.7 million Instagram followers. And those Instagram followers, and this guy decided long ago, I think he started, what, in 2012? He joined with Instagram, and he decided that this was really important for him to do social media. He's not even considered a great designer, is he? I mean, you've covered his shows.
No, I mean, it's very decadent, very 80s. It's not a very New York aesthetic.
Yeah, but he's got that following, and also he is hooked up with the Kardashians, and as a result, he is considered a rock star. And that H&M collection sold out immediately, and things went on eBay at 5-6 times the price. So that's something else that's happened. So that's a designer who's a celebrity. Okay, next up, we're waiting for Beyonce and Topshop. Beyonce did not do well with her House of Darion collection, but she and Sir Philip Green signed her up to do a special collection for Topshop, and that's coming out next year, I think, at the end of this year.
Honestly, don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, it's on its way, and this is a lot of people are saying this is going to be a big thing because, of course, the athleisure is the new area of growth. I mean, Tory Burch just opened athleisure department, actually a pop-up store during Fashion Week. So that's something big. Okay, now the housewives have slowed down in the celebrity fashion world. Donald Trump, who I mentioned in my book, I have a whole section in the book about when Donald Trump did his collection at Macy's, how it started. I was actually there to interview Sheldon Brody, who was the he's a manufacturer, suit manufacturer on 7th Avenue, who did a lot of private label collections. And so Sheldon was looking for somebody to like actually revive the suit at a time when men weren't wearing suits anymore. So he approached Donald Trump. Actually, it was the year before The Apprentice. Donald Trump turned him down. The reason why he went after Donald Trump, he said, because Donald Trump is the only guy who you've ever seen who always wears a suit. He usually even has his jacket closed. He always has on a suit and tie. I mean, now, of course, we've seen him in sportswear, but back then, he had always been wearing a suit. So after the first year of Apprentice, it did so well, Donald Trump agreed to do a suit line for Macy's. And it took off in a big way, and that was 2004. And as a result, that was one of the reasons why Jessica Simpson became a big deal at Macy's because of that. Now, Donald Trump, as you know, of course, is out of Macy's because of his different comments about immigrants. But he is now hijacking the Republican Party. So it's like they're not hijacking the fashion. And I also think this is really interesting. When you look at this intersection of politics, the two guys who are really big in politics in this Republican primary season are two celebrities, Ben Carson and Donald Trump. They're selling books there, and and Trump has a household recognition, and that just goes to show you need celebrity for everything, not just to sell clothes. So, and the other thing is, of course, we're looking at people like Gwyneth Paltrow, who's got that brand called Goop, Jessica Alba. So the tsunami continues. So this is just a phenomenon that's going to continue because celebrities really do connect with consumers in a way that designers just don't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that just kind of like, so anyway, so back to, now, did I answer the question? The question was, yeah, so go back. What was the question again? I just wanted to give them a quick overview.
We were talking about, you've definitely touched on celebrities who have become designers, but also designers who have become celebrities in their own right. You had Michael Kors on Project Runway for years. You have Olivier, who is on Instagram. How critical, essential is that to branding yourself, to becoming a celebrity persona if you're a designer?
Well, it's very important. I mean, in fact, when I interviewed Michael Kors for the book, he said that he feels like that fashion schools should spend as much time helping the designers learn how to like work with the press and really develop their personalities as much as they should do that as much as like learning how to sketch and sew and create clothes, because he knows that was the big thing that took him over. Because I mean, Michael Kors, as most of you all know, was in business for years. I mean, he went through a bankruptcy. He was in business for years. He did that business. He did the collection with Celine at LVMH, and that was supposed to be the time when he was supposed to take off. But it really didn't happen until Project Runway, and 10 years on that show really did just change him, and it actually did happen at a really cool time when the company was introducing all those retail stores. They're mostly accessories. The other thing that you need to have for a designer, not only the celebrity thing, you also need to have an accessories brand. If you are not, accessories are the sweet spot in fashion. And you look at every fashion brand that's successful. I mean, think of Gucci, Prada, LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Chanel. It's all about accessories. And accessories, of course, became a big deal after after the dress codes changed. Because the dress codes, in my first book, In the End of Fashion, I talk a lot about dress codes changing. But once dress codes changed, everybody started wearing casual clothes, and people had to have a new way to figure out how to show off. They needed to have something that would separate them from everyone else. So shoes and handbags, watches too, became like the signifiers in fashion. So any fashion company that really has a big presence has shoes and handbags. And we see all those Michael Kors handbags in the subway. And so that combined with his celebrity as a personality on Project Runway really made it happen.
Yeah, that's a good combination, because being a famous designer does not always equal business success.
No, not at all. And then now we're looking, it's interesting, because you guys, you see Zac Posen is trying to follow, because we were just talking about this earlier. Zac Posen is trying to follow the same path that Michael Kors did. And it is not necessarily working that great. I mean, he gets a lot of red carpet play. and he's on the show, but I don't know. I mean, so it doesn't always work. I mean, it's a magic formula of a lot of things. I mean, what makes a celebrity, one more so than the other? Some of it is talent. I think he's actually quite a good designer, but it takes a lot more than that.
It does. So also, in the last 6 weeks, we've seen what almost feels like a mass exodus of these very famous designers leaving big French houses. Alexander Wang left Balenciaga after 2 years. Raf Simons left Dior, and then Albert was sort of dismissed from Lanvin, which shocked everyone. I'm curious,
Changing of the guard.
Yeah, when you have this sort of big name designer that everyone knows, what sort of impact does that have for these brands once these designers leave?
Well, Lauren, I don't know. This is really going to be something that we're going to follow very closely to see what happens. I mean, you look at somebody like Albert Elbaz, he, I think, was actually a celebrity in his own right. I mean, his whole little Charlie Chaplin look, which was something that a lot of people really identified with. And, that was a big business. And I'll be curious to see who they're going to put in that seat. The same situation with Raf Simons at Dior. The Dior brand is such a locomotive, but the French houses is interesting because the French houses, their plan of action is always to keep those brand names that already exist and to keep bringing in new people to sit in those seats. Now, the brand helps a bit, but you also still need the celebrity identification situation. Now, when Karl Lagerfeld, when he decides to retire or just step back from work, it'll be interesting to see what happens because Karl is a celebrity. I mean, I would think more so than most. Everyone knows who Karl Lagerfeld is, and but Chanel also is a machine. But I'm sure they'll find somebody new to make it cool. I mean, you see. Charlize Theron is helping Dior, with the Dior fragrance, so that keeps that going. So it's always a combination of that. And
I think listening to a lot of these earnings calls, when a designer or when a house changes designers, it usually takes a few years for the customer to catch up. Analysts never like it.
It takes a while. But the other thing is don't forget. I mean, I don't know. My big beef about all this is that I see that the fashion industry tends to it's a ritual. They continue to do what they've always been doing. But the other big thing that's hijacking the runway is fast fashion. And I would argue that I think the fast fashion is their biggest challenge of trying to figure out how to get people to spend money for clothes again. And it is just, Zara continues, H&M, Forever 21, Uniqlo, I mean, one of my favorite stores now. And even Jean-Paul Gaultier, he got out of the ready-to-wear business. He's been in business for 38 years. He got out of the ready-to-wear business, but he said, I'm not going to do that anymore because he said, I really think if people want to get good clothes, they can get them with the fast fashion and the high street brands. So he, again, is also acknowledging that, the fast fashion brands are good enough for most people. And so that's something else that's tricky, and that's another reason why a lot of designers want to pair with the fast fashion brands because that helps them, gives them some notoriety, and that's also part of the whole celebrification of the whole thing.
And do you think that's an equitable exchange? Is it's as good for these design houses and the designers as it is for H&M?
Well, for H&M, the thing is this, these are one-off collections, so they're not, these are just drive-bys. They do the collection and then it goes away. But it definitely gives that designer, Olivier Rousteing, I'm sure now people know who he is. They know how to pronounce his name. They know what he looks like. That's something that really does happen when you do something like this. So, any way to get the celebrity handle. And you talk to designers now during the fashion seasons and they're trying to figure out how are we going to do this? One designer, who I can't even mention the name, allocated $80,000 for her front row. Because, everybody who goes to the fashion shows, any celebrities you see there they're getting free clothes and they're also getting paid to sit there. And $80,000 is really not that much. But, that'll get you maybe 2 or 3 kind of B-list people. The housewives will come for free. So, if you want them, you don't need to pay for them. But the thing is that everybody knows that this is part of the drill. And, I just find it astounding that this is what is necessary. Lauren, you cover the shows.
Yeah, and there's a celebrity, there's Kardashians and Kanye West in the front row. I never see the clothes. You're watching them the entire time because they usually put them front and center, right across from all the journalists, and like, yeah, Burberry. I haven't seen a Burberry collection in 5 years. I've just watched the front.
Oh, because yeah, well, you know, and Fern Malice, you all know Fern from. Who's been the mother of the fashion shows, who started the whole New York Fashion Week. Fern estimates that she figures that about 20% of the photographers who are at the Fashion Week are there only to take pictures of celebrities. They are not even there to take pictures of clothes. And you'll see when you get there, you see that their telephoto lenses are trained on the front row. And you go to a show and people will say before the show starts, this is a hot show because certain people are there. You know, Michael Kors is always going to have Catherine Zeta-Jones and her husband, and he'll have another, you know, set of celebrities, and that really does affect people's image of a show. And if celebrity is not there, what do they say? That, oh, this is
kind of a dud this season. Yeah, no one will talk about it.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because, you know, like, well, when Valentino had, you know, the Zoolander cast go on their runway last season, like that was a beautiful collection, but every headline was about Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller being on the runway. No one talked about the clothes.
I have a question for you, Lauren, because, okay, Lauren is part of this new group of bloggers, and I mean, you know, the fashionista.com has, you all are like, what number, where you all rank in the group of, you all are one of the top. Yeah, I was going to say you are one of the top. So anyway, what are you all, when you're looking to cover the shows, how much of the celebrity moment is I mean, really an important part of your coverage?
I mean, we have to balance it in terms of like, I mean, of course, like the number one thing that our readers care about is celebrity. They care about Kendall, they care about Gigi Hadid, and they care about like whatever celebrity model is walking the runway. Absolutely, and they care about the front row. So for us, it's like, it's balancing, okay, we care about the collections, but at the same time, like we know the readers are going to click there. So something we might compromise on is we might focus on the collection for the headline and the text, but the way that social media is the way that so much of our readers come to our site now, that's probably what we would emphasize when we were trying to get people to click on the story. And you hear that the New York Times as well. They run a beauty story on Kylie Jenner, and that gets read so many more times than, you know, one of Vanessa Friedman's reviews.
Okay, yeah, so the whole idea of the fashion review, the fashion show review, which used to be such a big, I mean, obviously this is part of the ritual, and this is what causes designers to get, you know, CFDA awards and other accolades, but the celebrity quotient, and especially these Instagram views, I mean, and Instagram is now, I mean, you know, Twitter's still around and Twitter's still popular, but now Instagram is the thing. And we were talking about that, but tell them a little bit about this.
Well, I mean, we accidentally got sent, someone had done a seating chart for a show, and when they were allocating who was sitting front row and second row, they had everyone's Instagram followers listed next to their names, because that's how they had done their seating chart.
Okay, so you see that the Instagram thing is really important. And then the other, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something, tell them this, because this is new. Yeah.
So, I mean, Instagram has been absolutely excellent for images, and it's so important, and the fashion industry loves it. Twitter is not nearly as popular as it once was, especially for anyone who's been following their earnings. Fashion is very visual. Snapchat has sort of become the new it thing for them. I mean, Dior has invested in producing, Snapchat's kind of like funny, and it's video, and it's really informal, and people use lots of emojis and make jokes, but of course when these luxury brands do it, they want it to be highly produced and incredibly beautiful, and Dior, when they do a show, they build a whole Snapchat campaign around it. Burberry has been investing a lot of resources there. They will have they sort of set up these staged behind the scenes things where like they were shooting campaign, they had Anna Wintour walk through, like they tried to make it seem organic.
Yeah, now as you all know, just in case you know, because I had to be refreshed on this, Snapchat has the ability to actually have the longer videos. On Instagram, they're the short videos, but not as long as, 15.
And people don't watch video really on Instagram.
Okay, so they look at the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, and then of course, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, pictures and celebrities, so that all kind of goes together.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the actual rise of celebrity designers. You go to a sort of hip department store now, and you see Victoria Beckham and Kanye West's Yeezy collection is in Barney's alongside Givenchy. And then on another floor, a contemporary floor, you'll see Tory Burch flats, and Tory Burch was a socialite. And you also see Jessica Simpson's shoes, and she generates $1 billion in sales a year. How did that happen? How did they get there?
Well, it all started with fragrance. I mean, and this is the funny thing that when people want to know, well, I mean, obviously we had, Audrey Hepburn and, in the 50s, and there's always been that association. But it actually all started with fragrance with Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth Taylor, and I get into detail with this in the book, I actually started out telling you about Giorgio, the fragrance which was for a retail store, but they actually marketed Giorgio in the 80s like a celebrity. And Giorgio took off so well, it broke all the records in the 80s for a top fragrance that they said, well, God, if we can do this with a fake celebrity, let's do it with a real one. And so they went after Elizabeth Taylor. And Elizabeth Taylor then became, and the first Elizabeth Taylor fragrance, of course, was Passion and then White Diamonds, which became a big deal. This is a fun fact I have in the book here. Elizabeth Taylor, now, at this time too, this is like late 80s, a lot of celebrities did not want to really like hawk products. They would hawk products. For example, you could go to Japan and see celebrities selling scotch on a billboard in Japan, but this was something that serious celebrities did not do at all. Kevin Costner was approached by Giorgio Armani to do his campaign initially, and Kevin Costner refused because he was not going to do this. But Elizabeth Taylor did it, and the reason why she did it is because she needed money. Even though Elizabeth Taylor had this incredible diamond collection, this woman needed cold cash, and the thing is she had no cash flow. And I got this from actually from someone from in fact Joe Spellman, who just died recently, from who was at Arden at that time, and he was my source on this. And he actually worked on the whole negotiation of that contract. And Elizabeth Taylor had not had those big paydays the way she was part of the old studio system. So she had all this great jewelry, but she did not have any. She was not liquid. So she actually, but in doing that fragrance, she really did put her all in it, and it worked out really well. And then 10 years later, there were some celebrity fragrances. There were some others that came around. Regine did one, and so did Baryshnikov, and there were a lot of Cher and others had done them, but nothing really took off until 2002 when Jennifer Lopez showed up. And so I have a whole chapter in the book about Jennifer Lopez, and I'm explaining to you how this happened. And Jennifer Lopez I tell her that she's a celebrity that the house that Coty built Jennifer Lopez was responsible for this. And once Jennifer Lopez took off, when she launched J.Lo Glow with Coty, it took off in 2002, and then floodgates opened, and then we saw Taylor Swift and Adam Levine and Gaga, Justin Bieber, everybody started doing celebrity fragrances. Now the other thing is that celebrity fragrances had a big moment there in like 2007, 2008, and now they've really like cooled off.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they never represented more than like 10% of the fragrance business. So it wasn't really that huge of a percentage, but it was really important because the celebrities actually got people excited about fragrance again. And for a store like Macy's, and I have a whole chapter in the book about how Macy's used celebrity fragrances as a marketing tool to actually get in the millennials. And they did this with Justin Bieber and Lady Gaga, those were two fragrances that they launched at Macy's, and that brought in a lot of those young shoppers. And it's helped Macy's a lot in their quest to try to get young shoppers to come into a department store. So the celebrity fragrances continue, and they come and go. Paris Hilton has 20 or so, and they keep going. But I don't know who buys them. I don't know who wears them, but somebody does. So they still, and you'll see them all over the internet, but they're still around.
And we've talked about different celebrities who have gone into the design business. Being a super famous celebrity, even if you're Beyonce, does not necessarily mean you're going to be successful in fashion. What has made Jessica Simpson and Rihanna so successful, where Beyonce and Lindsay Lohan have been so much less so?
Okay, well, the first thing with Jessica is that she went with Vince Camuto. Vince Camuto was the founder of Nine West Shoes, which was the big first shoe brand that all baby boomers wore when women started going in the workplace in the 1970s. And so Vince was the shoe guru, and Vince is the one who signed up Jessica. He went after her. And Vince is also is no longer with us, but he was been a source of mine for years, and I spent a day with him in Greenwich, where his office was. So he explained to me how all this all started. And you know what happened was he was watching TV with his teenage son. They were channel surfing, ran across Jessica. Oh, she's cute. What do you think about her? He's talking to his son about this. I interviewed the son, and he was telling me that Dad and I were like ogling how beautiful this woman is. The next thing they know, they had an introduction, and he signed up Jessica. And Jessica I had done a story with Jessica in 2005 when she first left the TV show, and she launched a jeans collection, which did not do that well. But so Vince bought the master license for $15 million and then relaunched her. And he said, we're going to take this a shoe and handbag brand. And of course, he put the platform shoes, that was a look for her, that they were able to market. And the funny thing is that they didn't even have to use her celebrity that much, because she had been popular on the Newlyweds, but her singing career never went anywhere. And at that time also she started to gain a lot of weight, and she was having all the problems with her boyfriends and everything. And so they kind of kept her to the side, but they used her a little bit. And then they also hired all these models who looked like her that they used for the ads. But it was a case of really good products. And initially, a lot of people were embarrassed to say that they wore Jessica Simpson. I interviewed many people for the book who said, don't tell anybody these are Jessica Simpson, because people thought it was really cheesy. But guess what? The thing is that product is king, and good merchandise. People found out the shoes were comfortable, they looked cute, and they went back and bought them year after year. And and then Vince planned it correctly, and that's so you really do need a strong business partner, to make this go. Beyonce tried to start, as big a celebrity as she is, she did that House of Darion. It didn't work. The name didn't click. They had the wrong licensee, and it just did not go anywhere. Same thing with Jennifer Lopez with the clothing line. She tried several times, and failed. Then she, the fragrance did really well, and then she came back and did a line with Kohl's, which has actually succeeded. So, it takes, it's the celebrity part, but also you have to be able to execute.
Mm-hmm. Well, good partners.
Yeah.
But how much are celebrities involved in designing their lines? Are they just signing their names? And do you think consumers care?
Okay, consumers do not care, and the reason why I know this is that I went to with the Kardashians, the first year after they were at Sears, where they're no longer anymore, but at that time, they had the Kardashian sisters were all there for an appearance. I got there early, and I started to interview consumers. And there were a lot of groupies. And I asked them, I said, do you guys think the Kardashians designed these clothes? And they all said to a person, no. And I said, but what, why are you buying them? Well, they had something to do with it. Well, it looks like them. Well, they're of higher quality. I told him, I said, you could get this same bustier dress at Forever 21 for $19. They're selling it at Sears for $79. And they're like, well, the one at Sears is better. So the funny thing is that I think the consumers they want to believe. They really want to believe. Even though a lot of consumers are skeptical and they know better, they really do want to believe. So they are seduced by these celebrities. Yeah. And
then we have celebrities like Victoria Beckham or the Olsen twins, who launched the Row, and they have approached it completely differently.
Okay, because we're wrapping up, so I want to get to them real quick. Yeah, the two celebrities that actually have broken through the glass ceiling are the Olsen sisters with the Row collection, and Victoria Beckham with her collection. Okay, with the Olsen girls, they started out being child actresses, but with the Olsens, they decided when they were 17 years old, when they started at NYU, that they were no longer going to be actresses. They each at one time they had $1 billion business at Walmart with a tween line. So these girls were really experienced. They had tried on clothes, and they were used to working with stylists and everything. So they had a lot of money. Each one of them was worth like more than $170 million, I think, when they started the business. And so they were able to hire top people. The main guy there is from Prada. And so they did a really good job. And they found a white space of like a high-end clothes, that area that Zoran and a lot of other designers were no longer there anymore. And they didn't even put their name on the collection because it was good enough as a standalone. Okay, with Victoria Beckham, the situation with her, she had been a former Spice Girl. She's married to David Beckham, but she does this full time. She's a full-time designer. And she had Simon Fuller, who was behind her, who had helped with the Spice Girls. He was one of the major investors. And she also found the white space. The white space for her were the bodycon dresses that whole kind of look that Loren Scott and Roland Murray and designers like that did. And she was able to take that to the bank, and those dresses sell out immediately. And women who buy those dresses are not buying them because they're celebrity, they're buying them because the clothes actually work. So yeah, I think we need to wrap it up, right? We got a couple minutes? Okay, yeah. So anyway, real quick, does anybody have a question? I can talk about anything, but anyway, any question, I'm like, real quick, go. Speak up loud so we can hear you. Well, okay, the thing is, but this is the European model. The European model believe that because of an established name, it's easier to design with that way because they have a certain recognition. I also talked to some guy on Wall Street who was telling me, who estimated that if you have an established name, you're like 10 years ahead of everybody else. In other words, if you start out, even though you might have won a CFDA award, you were big time designer at Parsons or whatever, it takes you a long time just to get the name recognition. Even someone like Marc Jacobs, who a lot of people think a lot of people know, they really don't. Marc Jacobs is not a household name. He's not. Even though he's well known around certain circles, but he doesn't have an accessories business. And, and he's known within the fashion beltway, but I bet if you go on the street and ask people, a lot of people wouldn't know who he is. Yeah.
Relationship between the designer and the celebrities, and also the PRs. We have the very good PR. Basically, we didn't spend any money, but they are bringing a lot of celebrities from Hollywood. Also, we have a designer from celebrity from China. So it's not really how good is the show or how much we spend. Basically, I think it's a relationship. What do you think?
No, it's clearly the relationship. And the other thing is, too, also it just depends on how well it's marketed and packaged, because this is all about packaging. And if it's packaged in a way that is palatable to consumers, the same way that Sears did that. Sears was a weak retailer, so that's a problem why the Kardashian thing didn't sell. But the Kardashians, it's not going to necessarily be Kim, but now it's going to be her sister, her half-sister Kendall, who, and they're going to package her in a certain way. Look at Lupita Nyong'o, the actress, who just in one season, just during that season of the Oscars, and her wearing all those different fabulous clothes to different shows, that got her the contract with Lancôme. And now, I would not be surprised at all if she'll be the next one that'll be doing something, because it'll be packaged that way. Okay, I'm just going to pop around real quick. Oh, go ahead.
So if celebrity, there needs to be this sort of celebrity influence for any line. Where do you see this going? What's the next step then?
Well, the thing is, I think it's going to be more and more. And the thing the retailers like about it is that when one celebrity goes, guess what? There's another waiting in the wings. This is what Macy's was saying, because I kept saying is with these fragrances, they're just churning them coming out. Jennifer Lopez, when I came out with the book, had like 18 fragrances at that point. So they have to come out with one every few months. I mean, not even once a year to keep it going. And the thing is that, but it keeps fashion dynamic. It keeps people talking about something. It keeps, you know, the social media that we're talking about. I mean, all that. So it's a more and more situation, and you're just not going to have that with a regular designer because they just don't have the recognition. I mean, you know, consumers are Philistines. I hate to say it, they are. They're Philistines, and they really don't have any, most people do not have a natural sense of fashion. They need to be marketed, they need to be told what to wear. I mean, and I talk about who started all this was Michael Jordan in the basketball shoes. And that started a whole new category. And so it's, you know, but it's going to be more and more. But I do believe that there's space for legitimate designers, I mean, real creative designers who are, you know, interested in the craft. There is a group of connoisseurs who will continue to buy those clothes, but it's just going to be a small group. But it's not going to be, there are no more Ralph Laurens and Calvin Kleins, those big businesses, no more of those, because as I always tell people, fashion's a pyramid. You've got the high end here, then you've got, you know, the middle, but you're not going to have all those diffusion collections, and that big part of that holds a pyramid up, all the factory outlet stores and all that stuff, all that is going to be taken up with fast fashion, celebrity brands, and these other brands that come and go. And that's going to be the big tier of the business. And that's why the fashion businesses now, I think a lot of the creative ones are going to be a lot smaller and exclusive.
Is that why Albert left?
I don't know. I don't know the situation why Albert left. You know, maybe he's, you know, apparently he did have a fight with his backer, and because they're going in different directions. So, yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Make a difference between celebrity fashion and celebrity and style.
Okay, such as what? I mean, what do you mean?
Or there is a difference between fashion and style.
Uh-huh.
There's some people use it just in fashion, but they don't make any point in the style, which is what makes the design.
So,
Like maybe Rihanna wears Dior one day and
oh yeah, in other words, because that's just part of her persona. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but see, but also too, because, you know, Rihanna shows up at the Met and wears, you know, that dress with the train that's this long, I mean, and she's always showing up with different styles, that gives her a cool factor. And that cool factor then is the halo over, even though that doesn't look, you don't see any of that in the Puma collection that, you know, that she's associated with, but it's still, it's kind of like part of, I mean, that's why stylists are such a big force here, because the stylists are in on that. And also too, just another little quick fun fact, when you look in the companies and you see, not only do designers have to pay celebrities to wear their clothes, but in that whole food chain, the stylists, the handlers, everybody who's associated with that, they all get cut in on the cash. So, I mean, this is, so if you know, anybody who wants to play this game and have celebrities working for you as a surrogate, you're going to spend a whole lot of money to get there. First thing, you're not going to have their loyalty, because you're going to have them loyal for that, but you're going to also have to spend a lot of money to get them, because even though somebody like Angelina Jolie wouldn't necessarily charge you to wear her clothes, but somebody in that whole group, even whether unbeknownst to her, is getting paid to introduce her to these people. So it's a real racket. It really is. Yes.
I'm just curious about the celebrity and public connection. What do they have to do basically to bring their style across to the public such that they would become a brand or be a benefit to a brand?
What you mean, the actual celebrity?
Yeah, like how carefully do they cultivate their personal style?
Well, it's all done by the stylists. The stylists are the ones, because a lot of celebrities do not necessarily have a great look.
which is why you see them looking incredible on the red carpet and then wearing like sweats to the grocery store.
Yeah, I mean, well, even Jessica Simpson, I mean, who fashioned her look, I mean, she came from Texas. She was like her daughter of a preacher, and she came from Texas, and who gave her the look, because they were trying to market her for music, was Rachel Zoe, who I interviewed for the book, who told me she was 17 years old, and she said she showed up, she was this peroxide blonde with these long nails, and, you know, and she like came in and gave her a look. And so a lot of them don't have a natural sense of style. So what you're looking at, what consumers are looking at is not, you know, when you're looking at Audrey Hepburn, you were looking at Audrey Hepburn, who had a lot of innate style before Givenchy. right? But now you're looking at all this stuff is manufactured, is fake. It's all fake, right?
Yeah.
It's all fake.
Oh, and they're getting paid, and we get press releases to write about it.
Okay, two quick questions. Quick, go.
Well, hi, Terry.
Hi.
You know, last year I asked you about when was the end of, when is going to be the end of the celebrity stuff, and well, so
Your next book.
I'm already
Yeah,
getting
this
there. You see no end in sight.
I don't see any end in sight.
The train is like getting longer and longer now. So the question I want to ask you this year is, it's everything you're talking about is very much about the long, long train of consumerism, is what I'm hearing. And then there's this like little fulcrum at the top that represents collectors.
Yes.
There's a consumer and then there's a collector.
The connoisseurs,
Yeah. And I'm thinking, there's got to, like, the problem with consumerism at that level, I mean, we are all consumers and I'm all for that at some level, but it seems not sustainable. And like last year was a huge conversation here at this conference about sustainability. Do you really think that, do people just not give a damn about any kind of sustainability? Like,
They don't.
we're buying all this stuff at H&M,
I know, and we'll end on this. The one thing about this whole idea of sustainability, I mean, I think that there is an elite consumer. This is like I tell people, this is a first world kind of discussion. There's an elite consumer who, the same people who want to ingest organic foods, and people, there's an elite consumer who cares about this, but most people want stuff cheap. If you all saw the factories where they made running shoes and the gases that those machines emit to make all those rubber shoes and stuff, you would never want to wear a pair of athletic shoes, but you don't see it and you don't know about it. And but there is a high cost to this, and I agree, but back to, I don't want to get to politics, but the only thing is the fact that we've got the two front runners in the Republican Party are two guys who've never run for office and who say really weird stuff but their celebrity is what is the buoyancy that's making them relevant. So that's what I'm saying. So consumers, as much as they claim that they want quality and they want this and they want that, no, they are more starstruck than anything. It's a fact, and they want it cheap. Cheap clothes. Walmart is number one retailer in the world because people want stuff cheap. Americans do not want to have, and plus people don't have the disposable income they used to have. People don't have, it costs now more to live. People have health insurance, all this stuff. People don't have, and so most of the fast fashion is good enough, and you're gonna throw it out. And also now you've got the other expenditure, you're buying a new telephone all the time. That's another thing that's taking a bite out of your disposable income. And if you go by an Apple store and you see all the excitement every time they introduce a new product, that's more fashionable than clothes. Okay, I'm done. Okay, wait, Sheila. Thanks. I'll get you when I go. Thanks. Okay. Buy my book if you already have it.